I mean, look, statistically, I'm not supposed to be where I am right now.
No, it was like the life I never dreamed I'd have, because I came at it with spectacularly low expectations.
The best things in life can happen by pure chance.
What are we doing?
And take us by surprise.
How groovy is that? The window display people were making props. I thought it was, what a great thing to do, how fun.
And I just remember being mind blown whenever I'd see dancing. My heart would just start beating so fast, and it was so crazy.
Stephen "Twitch" Boss, the charismatic kid from Alabama, who danced his way into the hearts of millions.
Listen, dance is one of the most joyful expressions that you can do. That energy is moving all through you and off you and around you, and it's contagious.
The mischievous and brilliant Simon Doonan, who turned the art of window displays on its head.
I was definitely the first person to make a thing out of chaotic, demented, hugely messy windows.
Two men defying expectations.
The key is not to grow up. Keep your infantile side fully intact.
Masters at creating the art of surprise. I'm Padma Lakshmi, and this is Spark.
I've always had this really special relationship with dance. You know, I feel like a lot of people have that certain thing that it kind of reaches down into your soul and is just like, yeah, this is for you. My name is Stephen "Twitch" Boss, and I'm a dancer. And let me explain where Twitch comes from. There's a style that really took a liking to called popping. It's a style where you contract your muscles. It's like flexing your muscles just to the beat, right? And when I learned the basics of what popping was, I was practicing popping everywhere, like church, school, the grocery store. So you imagine sitting behind a dude that's just like, you know? So that's where Twitch comes from, and that's why it makes sense.
Twitch is a master of freestyle hip-hop dancing and a pop culture icon, seen by millions as DJ and sidekick for Ellen DeGeneres. What people most admire is that he uses his fame to spread the joy of dancing. It's a passion he discovered early on.
I'll never forget, Sesame Street Live came to our Civic Center, and my mom took me to see it. I had to be maybe 5 or 6, and I remember that Grover and Cookie Monster did this dance routine, and I just remember being mind blown. And I remember going home and thinking, how do I do this? Whenever I'd see dancing in music videos, my heart would just start beating so fast, and it was so crazy. I used to record it on VHS tapes and just run that tape back and just learn the moves as best as I could. And that was kind of like my first informal dance training.
That was great.
Oh. I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. It's a huge sports area, especially for dudes, you know, football. But I didn't play football. And then found out that my high school had a dance team. There were no guys on the dance team, and that did not stop me. I still auditioned, which was a little different for the area because my peers weren't really used to that. And it would have been easy for me to say, I can do football, or, okay, cool, yeah, the dudes don't dance, like, all right, cool. You just really have to pay attention to your heart and not be afraid to say, you know what, I like that. I think that's also part of an artist's journey, too. As artists, a lot of times you see things that a lot of other people cannot see at first.
Montgomery didn't offer much room to grow his talent, so Twitch packed up and headed for Southern California, leaving behind a very worried family.
At times, that was very frustrating. I was seeing things that they weren't seeing yet. I would book a job here, I'd book a job there, and then there'd be nothing. I had a lot of hits, way more misses, way more misses.
Twitch's big break came when he earned a spot on So You Think You Can Dance.
Did not win, but I was runner-up, and that was enough for me because the fact that I had made it on the show, period, meant I had won, and life has been awesome since. They started doing All-Stars, so that means they brought back past contestants to dance with the new contestants. And that season was so monumental for so many reasons because first and foremost, I met my wife on that season. Also, I established one of the most random yet incredible working relationships, but then also a friendship with Ellen DeGeneres.
For tWitch, success means the opportunity to share what he loves, unleashing the joy and creativity people don't realize is locked up inside them.
You wouldn't believe the things that people will do when you give them the freedom to just dance. And they're just so joyful. It's like they've just been wanting the opportunity, but all they needed was the go-ahead. Dance is one of the most joyful expressions that you can do.
So why dance is because you owe yourself that kind of celebration, right? It's a language you just gotta connect with, at least one time.
I have a really good time when I'm dancing. I'm smiling and I'm sweating tremendously. The movement just never stops as long as there's music on.
tWitch encourages others to follow their dream, whatever it is and whatever it takes, because that's ultimately what made the difference for him.
There's just not an abundance of people to tell you to follow your passion or show you how to follow your passion. So there's a lot of people that I came up with that remained in trouble, that remained in the system. Brilliant minds that never really had a chance. So yeah, that's why I'm so happy, you know, because it could have gone the wrong way. I really do feel that in people's lives, there's something that tugs at their heart. And maybe not as dramatic as it was when I saw dance for the first time, but there's something that tugs at your heart and tugs at your mind. If I could extend advice on finding your passion, it would be really to pay attention to your heart.
If you're on the Upper East Side and you're a fancy family and your kid comes home and says, I'm going to be a window dresser, they're like, call a therapist and have a nervous breakdown. I never saw it that way. I thought it was, what a great thing to do, how fun. I never imagined I'd have this very glamorous life. So my life has unfurled in a way that I never expected because I came at it with spectacularly low expectations. I'm Simon Doonan. I am the creative ambassador for Barney's New York.
Simon once said he didn't know why anyone would be an artist if they could be a window dresser. He sees himself as more of a designer and entertainer, with a heavy dose of craft and Coney Island thrown in. Simon transformed retail displays into the most talked about windows in the world, often poking fun at the artists and celebrities who in turn begged to be featured again and again.
In my little town where I grew up, there was one department store, and every year they would do some fairly zhushy holiday windows. They were probably very corny, but to my eyes, aged 3, 4, 5, 6, it was like, wow, this is incredible. Look at all this shimmering glamour. After I left college, I took a job in a department store selling, and I noticed that the window display people at this little store in Reading, England, were having fun. They're making props, they're running back and forward with ladders, and I thought I could do that. When I started doing freelance work in London, I was very cheeky. I would go into a store and say, who does your window? I'll do it for £5.
Simon's life story is like his windows, quirky, creative, open to trying just about anything. In the 70s, he went to Hollywood to decorate movie sets. In the 80s, he moved to New York to work on a display at the Metropolitan Museum's Costume Institute.
And I met Gene Pressman, the owner of Barney's, and the rest is history. We became friendly. I took a job at Barney's, where I've been ever since. Coming to Barney's was a huge change for me because suddenly I had this more corporate job. I started working in other areas of the company, but I always kept the windows because it was just something I loved doing.
Right from the start, Simon's imagination was never confined by limited resources. He can and does find inspiration everywhere, and that adds to the fun.
Many of my early display jobs, there was a very tight budget / no budget. So I got very used to making things out of other things, crafting things. I used to find incredible stuff in the trash. I would find amazing bits of fabric and crazy stuff and use them in my windows. So I had a habit of always being on the lookout for something that was very inexpensive and had some graphic, groovy potential in a window display. Quite honestly, I think over the years I came to prefer things that were a little more funky, a little more homemade. I didn't like props that were made in some fabulous fiberglass studio. Here's Prince, His Purple Highness, most talented person in the world, R.I.P. In the late 80s, we did a Prince window, and Prince, being the obliging, incredible guy he is, sent us all his clothes. We had all the references to all his songs in the window. It was a very popular window, and it's a treasured memory of meeting Prince. Special, original, total original. If you want to stay loose and creative, the key is not to grow up. Keep your infantile side fully intact. So I'm looking for inspiration everywhere. And then I'm also looking at what's happening in the culture. For example, at Barney's, I noticed that all of our customers are obsessed with celebrity chefs, and everyone was watching these shows on TV, these cooking shows. So we created this big campaign called the Foodie Holiday, and it was a celebration of celebrity chefs, every aspect of foodie culture. We created these window displays, a food fight. You could have had a dinner party, very neat, all the figures sitting around the table, but we didn't. We had them standing on the table, hurling things at each other, a food fight. It's sticking to the glass. We made all that out of plastic resin, stuff like that. So I'm always looking to do things in an unconventional way. That's something I'm known for, I think, is doing messy windows. Typically, I noticed early on in my career, windows are very pristine. There's a certain neatness. Everything has to be clean. Everything has to be precise, white floors. And I thought, okay, well, if you wanted to get attention, you could do the absolute opposite of that.
Simon's tendency to cut against the grain is part of his genius and definitely gets noticed. It's precarious work performing in public, but once again, Simon tackles what many creatives shy away from.
The fabulous thing about window display is that you get immediate feedback. I remember the first window I ever installed on my own in the early 70s in London. I installed the window and I went outside to look, and everyone was just like, this is horrible. Who did this dreadful window? It was like a deluge of negative feedback. And I thought, well, you know, I'm beginning. I didn't feel so terrible about it. I thought it was kind of funny, but you get immediate feedback, so you can't be too fragile. I think over the years, I must have done hundreds of thousands of windows, and that's not an exaggeration. That's why I've got carpal tunnel from using a glue gun. And I'm not kidding. I'm kind of kidding. I always approached every project, big or small, with a certain intensity. Even though we're just making a styrofoam wig head with hair rollers piled on top, what shape do we want? I would draw it out. Should they be higher? Do we need more? Should we use 2 types of hair rollers? So even though you're essentially working on something that's totally absurd, you approach it with a certain intensity where you look to make it be the best it can, even though it's just some corny, fun window prop.
Or a dance you simply can't contain. Both tWitch and Simon are inspirational and approach their craft with the same joy and exuberance as when they first started.
When I look back at my windows, I get a laugh out of them. I find them cheeky and fun, and I am happy that I made people entertained and amused. I derive pleasure from that. I can just die happy.